What's up, y'all? Informal Geek here. We're going to be doing it's my 40 to 31 favorite games out of my whole entire top 100. Just before we begin, just like every video, just want to be courteous and cautious. So just to avoid spoilers, if you want to talk about any of these games, just make sure we're referencing the number, not the title of the game, in any comments that you may leave. And also, if this is not the right starting point for you, there's links in the description that'll take you back to either the 100 to 91 video or the whole playlist or the whole entire playlist. Wow. Sometimes I can't speak. It happens. Anyways, let's get into today. So we're going to continue our teasers game. So we're going to see if you can put together from the teasers and hints that I give you of each component from each of the 10 games we're going to show today to see if you can guess what game they belong to. And then, of course, we'll break down every game as we go. So starting with my number 40. That's what we're doing, right? We're doing 40 today. Just kidding. So we've got, starting with my number 40 here. We have this component. This is the 39. 38, 37, 36, 35, 34, 32, 31. I did it. What am I doing? Hold on. I did it wrong again. 40, 39, 38, 37, 36, 35, 34, 33, 32, 31. What? Skip. Why is my brain so broken that I can't count backwards? I do this in like almost every video. Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? I don't claim to be perfect. So there we go. Anyways, we'll get this started here. So number 40, referencing that guy over there, is Raising Robots. Man, I have played this game with the deluxe version. I don't have the deluxe version, and honestly, I don't think you need it. Don't get me wrong. If you like extra components, great, go do your thing. But you don't really lose anything if you don't have it. So I'll give you an example here. The cardboard components are pretty thin, but I've also found that when you've got your thick pieces, they're just a little bit bigger, and they kind of, I don't know, they just kind of sit up higher and take up too much space. I'm complaining about a nice thing. Anyways, Raising Robots, this board kind of has vibes of a Wingspan design, but that's really where all the comparisons end, I think, in my opinion. I would not say that this is a better version of Wingspan, even though I have Wingspan rated way lower. What I like about this is actually what's not shown in this picture, and that's the action selection. So someone's going to have to pick one of the actions to either get energy or spend energy and whatever. So I think that is what makes this game so much better for me than Wingspan. And I don't want to even compare those games anymore. So, I mean, this is icon heaven. Hold on, my dogs are fighting a little too hard. Hey, knock it off. It's just icons galore here, right? But what you really need to pay attention to are the costs. So 1 energy gives you, 2, and then one of these pink ones. If you want to fabricate, and if you can get them high enough, you can use 7. Like, this is just the conversion of what it requires for you to upgrade based off of the cost and stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of icons, but really you're trying to play these adorable robot cards with different costs and different bonuses and stuff like that. I tell you where they go. Like these almost go in the recycle track, for example. Anyways, it's hard to really summarize why I like this game so much. Maybe I need to figure that out for myself. I just have so much fun playing this game. I can't really say exactly what it is about this game that I want to hang my hat on, but I like the management of the resources. I really like the action selection as well, and how it marries itself. And the benefits that you get to performing the actions here. It's just fun triggering things and comboing things again. So I would say give Raising Robots a look. This is one of those rare, maybe not rare, but one of those few games for me that I think it's more complicated to teach than it is to play. Again, part of the reason for that is the overwhelming amount of icons that you're looking at. But I wouldn't call this a super heavy game. It's definitely not a light game, but I wouldn't say it's as heavy as it probably appears on first glance. So check it out if you're interested, and that is my number 40, Raising Robots. My number 39 is a staple in this house, and that is Takedo. Man, is this game so fun, and it's so simple. It's got one of my favorite things, the dragging leader. So whoever's basically in last place on the track, it's their turn. And if everyone advances too far ahead, then that person who's the dragging leader can take multiple actions along the way until they aren't the dragging leader. But there's so many good choices to make, and the choices are easy to know what to do. I mean, just looking at the board here, you can see that there's icons galore, but 3 spaces are just for getting these portraits. One of the spaces is for shopping. One of them just gives you a couple free victory points. Another one interacts with the townsfolk. And then you're going to the temple and giving coins. And whoever has the most coins donated to the temple at the end of the game gets the most points. Like, it's really straightforward. But because it's so clean, it's accessible to everyone in my family. And everyone in my family is competitively... they're not competitive people, but they know when they've got a chance versus just playing the game. I mean, they're young enough and they're kind of experienced enough. So they enjoy playing this game because they know that they always have a chance and they're always going to do pretty well. And even if they win or don't win, usually the scores are within just a few coins or just a few points. And it's fun for people to feel to go through that experience and feel good about it. So that's Takedo, my number 39. My number 38 here is another one of our favorite family-style games, not Port Royale, or Port Royal, I should say. I say Royale, even though there's no E at the end of it. Now, right now you can only really buy the big box version, but you don't need it. We only play with the base game, and we play with the this one here. Is it the make sale one? I think it's the make sale. Yeah, I think it's the make sale here. So we kind of blend these two together. There's a sheet in the rule book that talks about what do you need for from player counts and stuff like that to pull that off. Just enough added variety. But man, is this game so simple and it's so fun to play. And to push your luck here, it's real. Because you flip over a ship or two and they're kind of okay. Then you're hoping to maybe get a character, and then another ship comes out, and you're like, oh god, what if I do one more? I don't have any soldiers or swords, but if I get another card, I can actually get 2 of these really fancy pirate ships. But if I bust, I guess no one gets anything. So the risk there is not great. And then next thing you know, they flip over like 6 additional cards, and it's a bunch of different people that they didn't need, and they finally settle. And the downside to that is you've given other players choice. And they can choose to buy one of the cards that you revealed, even though they give you a coin for it. And it's both, it always feels like positive. Excuse me. Sorry about that. It always feels like positive interactions, which I think is why this game always goes over so well with new players and non-new players. It's just a fun push your luck game. We really enjoy it. Played a lot. And that's Point Royal. My next one is the opposite of positive interaction, and that is Disney Villainous. The worst takes it all. Surprisingly, I've had a hard time getting this played by either friends and family. Just something about it just doesn't really gel easily, and I think it's because of how asymmetric every player is. And doing well in this game really comes down to how well you can digest the characters' motive and end game and even a little strategy booklet. But I think if you invest a little bit into it and be willing to play a couple of games, even if we use the same characters, that barrier softens, and then it becomes it turns a little bit more room for fun, because you're always trying to do your best you can, but at the same time you have to really tap into the role of being a villain and stopping other players before you can do it. And I've played with a few people when they have that mindset, and I think that's the best. Now, it's high on my list because when I'm playing with those folks, this game is amazing. and the nostalgia factor is there because you get to pick some of your favorite villains. I love um, the expansions that are coming out. I don't have the latest one. I'm not even sure if it's out yet. That features King Candy from Wreck-It Ralph. Oh, I can't wait to play that one. But I want to get, and then there's the one that features like what's it called? The Sword in the Stone villain, the witch, and then Syndrome from The Incredibles. Like these are just so cool that they're able to turn. I don't want to say lackluster villains, but they're memorable in their own way. But they're not like the villains. But when you get to play as them, it really feels like that. It's a lot of fun. So I would highly recommend picking up any set of villainous and see if your group is in that right, has that right mindset that can have fun being kind of tenacious with each other. All right. My number 36 here now is, again, a complete shift on that spectrum, and this is Dog Park. Dog Park, my dog is going nuts right now. Give me 1 second. She doesn't like to wear this one collar, and of course, now she's wearing it. She's going to scratch herself like crazy. Anyways, we're playing Dog Park here. Talking about it at least. This game is a little bit of a teach for what it is, and I don't know why I like it so much, but I really do. But it's fun to puzzle together what dogs we want to go after based off of the random assortment that comes out for from game to game, and you're dealing with the forecasts that are random from game to game, and trying to piece together the best you can do with what's available, and how much risk you want to put into your bidding, because whatever you bid, if you win, that's how many you're bidding with your victory points. You're bidding with your reputation. And it's fun to balance that all out and do pretty well. There's a few different ways of doing well in this game, and I've noticed that each time I play primarily with my oldest daughter, and man, the scores are always close. It's always having fun while we're playing, especially when we're like utilizing the same dog's benefits over and over, or working abilities and stuff. And yeah, we just have a fun time playing this game. And that is Dog Park. All right, my number 35 is a game called Tyrants of the Underdark. It's funny, there's a different Tyrants of the Underdark, but we're talking about Tyrants of the Underdark board game. This is like a Clank version of area control. So you've got a board, it's fully driven by deck building. And you're trying to hold majority of certain locations. You're trying to spread your influence across the map. You've got spies that will let you begin spawning on different locations, interrupting majority bonus points, and not just bonus points, but bonus advantages. Because the more of those locations that you hold, the more influence it gives you that you can spend on buying better cards. So there's a lot of incentives to go and steal majorities and constantly fight over that kind of stuff. But this particular game also comes with built in with a couple of expansions that were released. So I would say that this is probably like a 2.0 version of the game that you can buy nowadays. And it adds variety to the deck. I mean, you just mix and match a couple of these different decks, and you've got a very different feeling game. Some more interactive than others. But, taking the Clank concept of taking a deck builder but turning it into a board game, now does it with area control. And if you like area control and you like the deck building, even if you know nothing about Dungeons and Dragons, you can have a really good time. You can have a really good time here. And we did, which is why I have it so high on my list, because I've played it a few times and it's great. All right. Now, as if we weren't, shifting gears from game to game over and over enough, let's do it one more time. And that is going to be Xia Legends of a Drift System. This is the opposite of a strategy game. This is like a fantasy novel. It's got a bunch of crazy rules and stuff you have to explain. But if you play the game as like a GM, where you give people options versus explaining every single rule to get them started, I think you can have an easier time getting started, playing a couple of rounds, and then deciding to run it back and just reset things. Or you just keep playing. And it's fun to get victory points in like 10 different ways. You can be the merchant, you can be the pirate, you can be the police, you can be the barterer in some way, the explorer. Victory points for how much you just upgrade your ship. So going out and getting money, you can buy your own victory points. You get victory points by doing some crazy stuff like flying through the asteroid field and then hoping that you roll a 20. If you roll 20s, you get victory points for that too. You get victory points. As you get victory points, you move up a track and you earn titles and you unlock more events. You can complete missions. Man, it's just a space opera. So if you've played Tales of the Arabian Nights, and that's more of a story game than it is a game, this is more of a game than it is, but it's also a story game. It just doesn't have a booklet that tells you stories. You play out your own narrative, but really personify your ship with some famous ones out there, like the Enterprise, or the Serenity, or the Millennium Falcon, or all those iconic ships. You can really tap into some of that material and just kind of have fun. And I didn't mention it, but there's even an economy aspect with I guess I did mention it with the trading, with the selling, but this game is fun. And there are also NPCs, so you don't have to always bully other players. You can just go after the NPCs, and one of those is both what I would consider the bandit, the outlaw, the target, and the other one is actually like the police. So yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff in Zaya. All right, we are speeding along here pretty quickly. At least I feel it in my throat. This next game, my number 33, hopefully you can figure what this one out is by that icon, but it is The Quest of El Dorado. I didn't realize how many deck building games I have up here, but if you've noticed a theme, if it's deck building, I like it to be deck building with something else. And in this game, it's deck building in the form of a race game. So you all start on one particular board. There's a few different combinations of maps that you can that are built into the rule book, but of course you can make your own. There are expansions you can buy to even add more variability to these double-sided tiles. But ultimately you start from one spot and you're trying to get to the other. And the way that you do that is you play your cards that will let you move a certain number of spaces in through the terrain. So you can't really see it, unfortunately, with this picture. But you can, these green ones have a machete, and you can move a certain number of spaces through the spaces that have a single machete. But you can't ever add two cards together. So if you've got a space that requires 3 machete, you cannot use 3 cards for 1 machete each. It doesn't work that way. But it does work the opposite way. You can use a card that gives you 3 machetes, and you can go through 3 individual tiles of 1 machete each. So you can play around with that. You can get these jack of all trades, which you can choose to have it either act as 1 machete or 1 paddle or 1 gold to pass through the villages. Like, you can do all sorts of things like that. But man, is it ever a race. And you're blocking people strategically. You're just playing your cards strategically. You're really only limited to 4 cards on your turn. So you don't even have a ton of cards to use. And most of the time you're using those cards to either move or you're using them to buy upgrades. And one of my other favorite things I love about the market system here is there are, let's say, 10 extra decks or 10 total decks beyond what's available every time you start the game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 12. So you always start with the same 6, and then there's 12 other individual decks over here. Every deck has 3 of the same card in it, but whenever one of these slots is empty, you don't immediately put a new deck into its spot. You have to wait until someone's ready to buy something from the market, and they can buy anything from what's available. But imagining that this space was empty, they could also choose any one card from the other 12 that are out there. They buy that card, and then the other 2 cards fill in the slot. That dynamic, player-controlled market system is so clever in the timing of where you're like, oh man, I've got the right cards for my movement. I guess I'm going to do that, but man, I really want this other card right now because I can see that I've only got 2 cards left in my draw pile. So if I buy it now, I have a good chance of drawing it later. But if I instead do a lot of movement and then buy a card, I mean, it's probably still going to be there, but I'm not going to get to it for like 4 more turns. Like, thinking about it from that perspective, mixed in with the players and the racing, it's a good time. And again, one of those other like neutralized types of games where you can play with almost anybody and do your best. Everyone will do their best, but there's always like the final result will always come down to like one hand. You're like one turn away. Oh yeah, it's always a lot of fun. And that's the quest for El Dorado. All right, my 32 here is a very popular game. You probably heard of it. It's called Flamecraft. Flamecraft is probably best known for its cute artwork, but underneath the vanity, there's a pretty decent game here. I'm not going to explain everything there is in the game, but you basically have a hand of dragons that lets you do certain things, and you're going to visit shops, and you're going to interact with the shop. You're going to get goods while you're there. You're going to place a dragon to get a one-time ability, and then you're going to pick a dragon and take advantage of its ability. If shops have abilities, you'll get those advantages too. And then you're doing all this to get resources so that you can, I forget the name of the word here, enchant, and turn those resources in for a bunch of victory points and cards and so on. What's really fun is about 3 or 4 turns into the game, someone fills up a shop and a new shop shows up. And all of the starter shops don't have any special abilities. So there's a little bit of a nudge to try and do that so that you can start getting some more powerful turns out of these really interesting shops. Only for a limited time though, because like this shop here, every shop can only take 3 dragons. But man, look, this one says you can put any dragon there and you're gonna get 3 points. So that's really attractive. And unfortunately, despite how busy all this looks, one of the things that isn't a player's advantage when I'm teaching it is I'll let them know that it doesn't matter what the dragon looks like or what the name of it is. On a purple card, they all function the same way. And I think at first, when people would look at this game being played in pictures, there's like, I don't know, let's just say 9 shops, and 6 of them are completely full. So that's 18 cards basically. 6 times 3, right? So 18 cards that all look unique from each other. That can be very intimidating at first. But I think for a resource management game, that's a good thing to look at. Makes it very attractive, easy for people to try it. I think this one does a pretty good job of helping people have fun, enjoying resource management and stuff like that. Anyways, that's Flamecraft, my 32. And finally, for this video, my number 31 is probably going to be an all-time classic. I really think this is going to be around for a long time. It doesn't have the same buzz as like Catan, but man, I can play this game forever. And that's Istanbul. So Istanbul, all players start at the fountain, and you've got a stack of like your stickered meatball disc on top of I think it's 4 other discs of the same color, but they're not stickered. They're your assistants. And you're allowed to move anywhere from 1 to 3 spaces. So from the fountain, I might go, let's see, I might go 2 spaces. I might go 1 and then 2, right? So if I do that, I take my entire stack and I'll separate my entire stack from 1 assistant and the rest of my stack. And I take the action of the location. I would fill up my wheelbarrow with whatever these green resources are. I forget what they are at the top of my head. That's my whole turn. Then I might go somewhere else. And I might go somewhere else. Eventually, I'm only left with myself and no assistants. And your disc, the merchant itself, can't do anything. Can only work alongside its assistants. So you have to figure out how to backtrack and either land at a location with an assistant or find a way to get back to the fountain to then recall all of your assistants as your whole turn and then try again on your next turn. But the primary goal of this game is to get to, I think it's 5 rubies. And the way that you earn rubies is going here and paying for them, or going here and paying for them with goods instead of money, or you can get them from other things like maxing out your wheelbarrow upgrades, which is this space here. If you get all of your wheelbarrow filled out, you get a gem, and over here there's 2 spaces with upgrades. So if you buy all of the upgrades of red and green, you get a gem, and blue and yellow, you get a gem. But these will get more expensive. So like if one player gets this green upgrade, then it goes into need 3 resources, which is hard to do without doing an upgrade. And what makes this game, I think, stand the test of time is that other than the fountain needing to be in the center for squares here, everything can be done randomly. Like there are arrangements and rules, but for the most part, you could just randomize and play a whole new version of this game every single time and puzzle it out from there. There are markets to get money. There's a gambling where you can call your dice, and if you get it right, you get that much money. Or not if you get it right, but if you pick a number like 8 and you roll an 8 higher, then you get 8 coins, for example. Just whatever you call. There's markets to sell too. Like, this game is so much fun. It's got an app as well on Steam. It's pretty good. I think even for mobile, I'm not 100% sure about that one. But man, is it a fun game. Istanbul really does, I think, will stand the test of time even further. There's a big box version of it and some expansions. And honestly, I've never played any of that stuff. And I don't really feel like I need to. I think base game Istanbul is so good. And yeah, it's my number 31. So that brings us to the end of this video. So again, if you want to leave comments, try to reference the numbers, not the titles of the games. And then other than that, we're gonna be going into the next video. Actually, let me bring this scene back up so you can see it. We've done all of these games so far. In fact, our next video will be the last one that we do in this whole straight line format. We're still going to do 10 each time, but this is going to be the last one here. Then we're going to get into some special stuff over here with this 10, and then finally the final 10, leading to the big old number 1. I wonder what it is. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'm hoping that you're enjoying this series so far. And of course, my biggest hope for y'all is that you're learning about games that you've never seen or heard of, or have totally forgotten about, and you're getting back out there and researching them, trying them, or even buying them for your friends and family. All right, y'all. Appreciate it. Thank you, and see you next time. Bye.